Jesus 911.
Jesus 911, Soul Patrol, Jesse Romero, one-man car. I want to wish you, we're ending the Advent season. We're going to start Christmas. And I want to just wish you a Merry Christmas. And I want to talk about all things Jesus right now and all things Christmas for the next 60 minutes. It's Holy Hour of Power. I'm giving you what I would call some Catholic briefings, some Catholic intel. Put all this stuff in your war bag and go out there and become holy or die trying. There's an incredible story about the power of Christmas. The birth of Christ is so incredible. I don't know if you realize of this famous story, what we would call the Christmas truce during World War I, the bloodiest war in human history. Yep. It's a story of hope for modern man. The Pope was Pope Pius the 15th. Pope, and this is incredible what he did. It's called the Christmas Truce of 1914. The 20th century, it's been plagued with darkness and plagued with wars. And I'm surprised, thanks be to God, it's only by the grace of God that we haven't destroyed ourselves after all these 20th century wars. But I want to tell you about the famous Christmas Truce of 1914. And here's the basic story. So in the midst of World War I, German and British soldiers throughout Europe called an unofficial ceasefire on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And they ventured into no man's land. Between the sides and enjoying the conversation and caroling and even games of football. But did you know about the part the Pope played in this? Between the British and German soldiers, this unofficial truce on Christmas Day? Well, let me hit the rewind button. World War I broke out in July of 1914. The Pope at that time, Pope Pius X, was sick and dying and unable to adequately respond. He died in August, and by September, a new Pope was elected, Pope Benedict XV. And right away, Pope Benedict made trying to bring peace to Europe one of the main tasks of his pontificate. He famously called the war the suicide of civilized Europe. And in early December, he suggested that all warring parties agree to have at least a ceasefire on Christmas Day of that year. And in the least, the ceasefire would allow the soldiers on all sides to keep the holy day of Christmas. And perhaps the break, the respite, would make everybody reevaluate why they were fighting the war in the first place. But the real hope was that the temporary ceasefire would give the warring parties a chance to put together a permanent truce to end the war for good. And so Pope Benedict XV, he implored that the guns may fall silent at least upon the night the angels sang. Unfortunately, his proposal was officially rebuffed by leaders on all sides of the war. But then when Christmas came, truces sprang up unofficially throughout the continent anyhow. So what caused the truces? It's hard to know exactly, particularly since they were apparently uncoordinated and spontaneous. But it's hard to think the Pope's courageous pleas for peace didn't have some effect on what happened, on what ended up happening. So may we all remember Christ's words, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." And let's continue to work and pray for peace in our world today. You never know the effect you may have on the world. So that's the story of the way Pope Benedict XV during World War I. He suggested that they have a truce Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. The Germans and Brits kind of rebuffed him, but they ended up following his suggestion. Hey, have you heard of the priest who did something incredible? Father Goyo Hidalgo of the Archdiocese.